everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are finally on volume 41 of Yona of the Dawn. Oh my god, it's been forever! I've waited so long. I've been very patient. I was like, I'm going to patiently wait until chapters 235 to 240 are out. Gonna do it. It's gonna be fine. And then they slowly came out, and then everybody was like, okay, they're ready. And I'm like, good. And so I know that right now, chapter 242 has just come out because I've seen in the Discord people have like tagged spoilers to talk about. But that just makes me happy because that means I have to wait even less for volume 42 to come out. So I'm like, yeah! But man, it's been so long. I had to go back. Right now I bought up to volume 38 through the English translations, and so I reread those. The last couple volumes, 37 and 38, and then I went back through this morning and read the chapters for volume 39 and volume 40, and was like, okay, let's get myself caught back up. And man, lots of things have happened. So we last have where basically Chegel, has basically incapacitated I want to call him Kaji, but that's not right? Where he's one of the generals for one of the generals this is my brain at this point, but he's working with Ron and Val and them, but he's one of the generals who basically caught Chegel having hurt Maignan, so he's out of commission. He's after Hak and Yona, so it's like, what's happening? And then Val's working with them. The gang's all here. The dragons are assembled. Corin's here. All the 5 stars that are now the 3 stars are all here. And in the background of it all, Suwon believes that Yona has this power that's her mother's to see the future. I still don't know how I feel about that. Going back and looking, I'm like, I was really against it back when the volume came out, and I was like, I want Yona to be her own person. I don't want her to be like the shadow of her mom, because I feel like we have Suwon living in the shadow of his father. I don't know if I thematically want Yona living in the shadow of her mom, but then I thought about it, and I was like, well, that could be a thing in itself, where just like Suwon is trying to show that he is not his father, Yona could show that she's not her mother. And I feel like Hak is the nice in-between in all of that, because he doesn't have like a family member that he's in the shadow of. So he kind of serves as this balance for Yona and Suwon to be like, you guys aren't your parents. You are your own person. So if we go that whole future sight route with Yona, I'm not going to be horribly mad about it. I've warmed up a lot more to it than I was at the beginning when I first read those chapters, but I still would like Yona to be her own person by the end of it, and I still kind of like, I don't know how I feel about her being compared to her mom, but I'm more okay with it now. I just don't want the dragons to die, and I don't want Suwon to die, or Maignan, so that's where I'm at. But yeah, when we last left off, I forgot what a cliffhanger that was. I was like, oh man, we last left off with Hak showing up just then in front of Ron and them with Val and Yona, and Chegel is there too, so Hak, our Thunder Beast, he is not human. He is perfect. He is the most husbando of all husbandos. He will always be the OG husbando for me. And I've been so excited to see him again and to get into these chapters, because it's been too long. It's been so long that trying to keep track of like all the names and everything, I'm like, But yes, the Thunder Beast of Quokka. And so I'm actually on a site looking at these. There are a few pop-up ads, so as we watch, I'm going to be clicking off the pop-up ads. But the translation's pretty good, so I can't complain. And my dog, I can't complain because he's like, don't ignore me. So if I'm throwing my toy while I'm reading, you all know why. But yeah, I'm so excited to be here and just to savor. I want to savor this volume because I know it's going to be a couple months before I get to the next volume. But Yona of the Dawn, it's one of those series that I absolutely love, and I feel like I don't want it to end, but I'm just going to follow it until it is concluded because it's just so damn good. And Kusanagi, mwah, chef's kiss for Kusanagi. I have enjoyed with volume 38. It just came out and I got it. The little extras with the mangaka taking their cat to the vet and everything. That was really cool. And then I'm looking forward. Volume 39 doesn't come out in English until August, so it's like, but it should be out around the same time that the new Volume 42 is out. So maybe we can talk about the extras when we get to it, but, so yeah, I'm pretty excited, y'all. It's been a long time coming, but I hope you all are excited to see this volume with me. I'm really looking forward to it. This morning I woke up and I was like, yes, I want to read Yona of the Dawn and see what's been happening. That y'all been sharing little spoiler tag things amongst yourselves, and I've been like, oh, I want to see it so badly. So now we're here, right? I'm sure nothing traumatic will happen. So we are going to start Yona of the Dawn, volume 41, chapters 235 to 240. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's do this. Get these out of here. I shouldn't be surprised that this volume goes by insanely fast, and I'm insanely excited about it. And despite the cursing ads that were popping up throughout of it, that was just like, get out of the way. And then it gets to the point where it's like a somewhat cliffhanger, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Now we don't know about the dragons. We don't know what's happening. I'm like, why, Kusanagi? Why do you do this? So yeah, so man. There's a lot of good that happened in this. Yona and Hak back to back fighting Chagel was like life-giving. I loved it so much. I was like, yes, please. Because I feel like as a series, we have built up to this moment. And it's always been that Yona feels like she needs to protect Hak. Hak feels like he needs to protect Yona. And they've never come to the realization that, no, they both have the ability to protect each other and stand on equal footing. And that's what I love about this as a shoujo, and what I love about Kusanagi is that Kusanagi is like, we started out with Yona as the stereotypical princess where she's like, oh, I need to be rescued by the big handsome man, and we're not complaining because Hak is an amazing handsome man. And so, but I love that Kusanagi has developed Yona's character throughout this entire series to get to the point where she can protect herself. And not only that, but stand up as a potential ruler of Koka, and not just be a figurehead, not just be somebody that, calms Suwon down or supports him. She's not just a supporting character. She can take action. She can do the damn thing. And she is capable of firing an arrow at Chagel. Like, literally, she could be the reason that he dies. And I'm like, I love her saying, like, she's like, if you could just stop this war and not be an asshole, then that'd be great. We could negotiate. But you are at the point where it is clear you are not going to concede. And you have come in, you've wrecked my friends, and you've wrecked my home. And she's like, I can't take it anymore. She's like, if you're not going to concede like everybody else is willing to, then what choice do we have? And it's like, oh my gosh. But honestly, with Chagel's character in this, I was very intrigued by showing us with his character how much he has this interesting dynamic where he clearly, like, I thought that with Maignan, he just cared about her because it was one of those, like, if I can't have her, no one else can have her. And that is kind of the case. But he does have an infatuation with her. And under the surface, it's not just, he does seem like he likes her, but he does not love her. He's infatuated by her and by her potential, but he doesn't love her like Val does, right? But I do appreciate that Kusanagi gives a little bit of layer to Chagel's character, where he's not just, he is slime, but there's more to him than just a surface level thing. She's trying to give him stuff underneath the surface, which I appreciate. I'm glad that he's not just a villain that is two-dimensional and has no other characteristics. She's trying to give him some type of layers, which is great. Man, Hak just looked great in this volume, right? I love the black underneath the white cloak. And there's so much layer to this as well, because Ron going to save Chagel, right? Even despite the fact that Chagel has hurt Maignan, has put Kaji up, has, lied about Val, or he thought he was dead, so I guess he wasn't lying. But despite all of the things, Ron is still loyal because that's his king in the end. I'm like, I get that. I like that we have all of these dynamics throughout this, but man, the twists and turns. Kusanagi needs to just stop playing with our hearts, stop making us feel bad. Because yeah, we have the idea that Chagel now has the chalice that originally was the dragon's blood came from. So we get a little bit of world building in this volume, that it's not that the items that are connected to Hiryu do impact the dragons, right? So the chalice that originally had the blood from the dragons that the humans drank out of, that gives the dragons some of their powers. So whoever has that can influence them. That's a big deal. So I'm like, if the chalice is destroyed, is that going to like affect the dragons negatively? I don't want to think about that. I don't want that to happen. But Zeno, I liked Zeno getting serious in this volume, but I also loved that when Kija stood up and was like, hey, like, we're going to get the chalice back together because this is clearly important. It's tied to us. And it's making Zeno confront with the fact that Zeno has for a very long time tried to keep the other dragons at a distance because he doesn't want to think about them as being close to him because he's afraid he's going to lose them. Like he's lost, you know, his original companions, and he's afraid that he's going to lose these dragons just like he lost them. And so Zeno's always kept them at like an arm's length, being like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to involve you all. But Kija's like, no, you're going to have to involve us. Like, this is clearly important. You're trying to play it off like it's no big deal. Let us in, right? It's kind of going back to Jaeha's discussion where Jaeha was kind of lamenting the fact that Yona didn't cry around him and the other dragons because he felt like Yona wasn't, because she wasn't crying around them and she cried in front of Suwon, it showed she was more connected to Suwon than she was the dragons. And Jaeha found issue with that. And I feel like he's telling Zeno, he's like, look, just like how we were concerned that Yona wasn't opening up in front of us and wasn't connecting with us, we're worried you're not connecting with us either. So I don't want the dragons to get hurt, but I'm like, damn it, show. Damn it, Kusanagi. Why do you make us... I feel like Kusanagi has to do things like this because the dragons are kind of OP. So Kusanagi has to make them have moments of weakness to balance the whole thing out. Otherwise, it's predictable, right? But I'm like, damn, they felt really easy in this volume, and I was not happy about it. I was like, Kusanagi, why? Why do you make them fall so easy? Just what are we doing? God, but yeah, going back to these chapters, Val and Hak are so similar. I love that Val and Hak and Yona and Maignan are like on equal footing with one another. Just like the flirting with Yona and Hak where she's like, come back, and he's like, order received. I was like, just stop. Right? Oh my God, I was just living for the moments between the two of them. Living, and I'm probably going to take screenshots while I'm talking with you all about these chapters as I go back through them. I was just like, God, quit being amazing. But yeah, what really gets me is that Val and Hak are very, very similar, right? They're complete similar characters. They both have this love for the women in their lives who are both badass women, you know? So there's that relation to them. But what gets me is that, like, Maignan immediately when she gets reunited with Hak or reunited with Val, Mainyan's like, let's get married. And Val's like, whoa, you're being impulsive. And Yona's the polar opposite. Like Maignan, the moment she gets reunited with Val, is like, let's get married, I'll be with you forever. And Val's like, whoa, hold on, we gotta get through this battle first. Whereas Yona is like, does Hak like me? And I'm like, she's the polar opposite. So it's a really fun dynamic to see Maignan and Yona be so different in their love for the men in their lives. But whereas Maignan is just like, all in, let's go. Yona's like, I'm not sure if Hak loves me. And I'm like, I'm going to just strangle you, girl. Like, But it's really good. I also liked Yona, like, her using, like, her intuition to find Kaji. It's great. Kaji and Kija, their names and likenesses are far too similar, and it makes my brain hurt. That I'm like, come on. But there were a lot of cool reveals. Like the rope trick was used a lot in this volume of, oh, you think I'm tied up? Not really. That was used an awful lot in this, right? But we're getting into, I think the one thing that is good about all this is at least the chalice being there in South Kai, because that was our worry from the beginning, that the dragons wouldn't have any power because they were so far from Hiryu Castle. And the idea that, no, they've got power because the chalice is there. My only thing is, if the chalice ends up destroyed, is it going to hurt the dragons? Because I don't want that to happen. And if the chalice doesn't come back to Hiryu Palace, what does that do? So Kusanagi's setting up some kind of scary situations with that, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, right? Right? So yeah, so Zeno again tries to play things off, and Jeha is like, don't do that. Let us in. Don't. As if Yona the Dawn has taught us anything, it's like miscommunication is a no-go in this series. Like let us help you, right? But man, Maignan, Maignan broke my heart in this volume because the whole time she is like, she just has given up on life because she thinks Val's dead. Like Val had become the reason that she was going on. And so it kind of gives us a preview of if Yona believes Hawk's dead, like she kind of loses all the will to live herself. And the same for Maignan and Val. So she believes that there's no point in going on. So at this point, all she's trying to do is get Kaji released so that he can get out because she feels bad for him getting captured. And so it just sucks that she's used as a distraction and a trap. And of course, Jeha is the one that is trapped by her because she's a lady and he wants to help her, right? I did like Cena and the animation with his powers too. But damn it! Like everybody just getting attacked by these Dromos. It's just it's so frustrating. I like that they make Chagall and his forces somewhat of a threat in this volume, proving they're not just a random run-of-the-mill villain. But again, we get into chapter 237 and Chagall, his flashback with Maignan and how he was entranced by her and her brashness, right? He was originally entranced by her because she was like, you'll need money if you're here for the show. Like, she drew his attention because of how bold she was and how brash she was, and that kind of got his, like, interest sparked. But then when he sees that, I feel like what's fascinating about it is that Chagall reminds me a lot of, and I'm going to use an example from Moulin Rouge, of the Duke, right? He reminds me of the Duke from Moulin Rouge, and that Satine in that movie, she presents herself as this beautiful, sparkling diamond, concubine that, enthralls men. And the Duke is enthralled by her, by what he sees on a surface level. Like, he sees her, like how she presents herself, and he's enthralled by that, and that's what he believes he falls in love with. But he doesn't actually fall in love with her, just this image of her that he connects with. Whereas Christian, who would be our Val surrogate in this analogy, he falls in love with her as a whole. He sees her in all the different stages of her as the badass, her as being vulnerable, her as the woman, and he loves her for all those fronts. Whereas the Duke doesn't love Satine for all of her. He loves her for just the part that he likes, right? And so that seems to be the case with Chagall. Chagall likes Maignan for the badass that she presents herself as. But when we see that she's also, in addition to being a badass, a vulnerable woman, he doesn't like that part of her. And so that's kind of where the line gets drawn, that he only likes her for what he values, whereas Val likes her for all of her. And that's where it really that's why we root for Val, because he loves her in her strongest and weakest moments, and Chagall doesn't like the weakness in her. So yeah, I also like that Hawk goes through this where he tries to rationalize, like, do I trust Yona? Do I believe in her strength? Should I trust that she's going to be okay? And then I love that we cut back to Kisuk being like, please make sure to protect Princess Yona. And Hawk's like, yeah, like I'm going to be doing that? Duh. I love that panel where Hawk is like, obviously going to protect her. And Kisuk tries to get Hawk with these talks of promotions and things within the army. I'm like, Kisuk, Hawk does not care. Hawk does not care about promotions. He only cares about protecting the people he loves, which is Yona and Suwon by the end of this. We'll talk about that. Oh my god. But I love the panel where Hawk is like, get it together, Hawk. You have to get it together. Have faith. Think rationally. Don't have everything taken away from you. I feel like it's really good that we show that both Hak and Yona have the same fears. And it's not losing the kingdom. It's not the sovereignty or anything like that. It's losing the people they care about. And I love that we see that with both of them, right? And that's where Kija comes up with Hawk, and they decide that they have to go rescue Princess Yona. Like, everything happens so fast in this volume. Yona getting captured, the dragons getting worried about her, there being talks about this execution. Like, everything happens so fast. And it's the chalice that makes the dragons all have a reaction, including Yona being taken. And when he's like, if I kill her, what will you do? And they all have the reaction, right? And I love Sheena being like, you'll pay if you do anything to Yona, like just having that outburst. But we don't know what happens with the dragons. And I'm like, we're led to believe that maybe things will be okay from the way that Kaji talks at the end of the volume, but we don't know. I'm like, Kusanagi can do anything that she wants to. She can take our hearts and just completely wipe them across the floor, right? It's so frustrating. So frustrating. But man, the moment Chagel hit her, I was like, dude, do not hit Yona. And Yona just doesn't even flinch. She's like, oh, is this the worst you can do? Really? But I love that Maignan doesn't care anymore about the Crimson Sickness because she thinks she's lost Val. But Yoon is like, do not let her die. I was like, good. So bringing her, I like that there's confirmation that Yona has medicine with her to give to Maignan and possibly to Suwon if needed to in future chapters, right? If needed to. I really appreciated the discussion between Chagel and Yona, because that's the thing. Again, giving Chagel's character more layers. Like, he's vile and vicious and a threat. And it's not just because he's this over-the-top cheesy villain. I feel like I was thinking back to the Water Tribe arc with the villain there that threatened Yona. And he was this over-the-top cheesy villain that we all, as the audience, were just like, okay, let's get him out of here. He's got to go. But with Chagel, he's interesting because he's a strong general. He wants to have South Kai succeed, and he's willing to do anything to do so. But at the same time, he doesn't instantly kill Maignan. He doesn't instantly, like he cares for Maignan in this weird, twisted way. He doesn't instantly kill her. And he doesn't instantly kill Yona either. Like, he wants to figure out what type of ruler Yona is. And is there more to her than just royal blood and red hair? Which, yes, there is, you know? And I find his character fascinating as a villain in this volume because he tries to sit down and actually talk with her. And he lets her heal Maignan. And there's more to it than just what we see on the surface. And he finds her, he's like, oh, she's a self-sacrificing princess. But everything he does is strategic. So he's like, okay, she'll easily become a martyr if it's to save her people. But she doesn't realize that if she dies, the morale of those around her will plummet. So I'm going to take that to my advantage and use that. Like Chagel is intriguing. And at first, when I was like, Yona, why are you letting yourself be instantly sacrificed? When we find out it was to get Algira and Voldo there, I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense. Because I was like, girl, why would you sacrifice yourself so quickly? What are you doing? But it was all a ruse. I was like, Yona's smarter than she looks. And I love that she just like, and of course, Hawk's like, execution, what? Like, I love he's like, what's going on? I love that Voldo and Algira getting in there, and Suwon, you know, we shouldn't, and Suwon doubting, like, that's why I shouldn't have let her go. And it's like, have a little faith in Yona. She's got a plan, right? She's got a plan in all of this. And Maignan stepping in and trying to, like, speak for the people of Koka. And then the thing about that's interesting is that she says, like, shoot me if you have to, my life has no meaning. And Chagel has this moment where he looks very sad about that it's almost like Chagel is jealous of Val because he wants Maignan to be happy with him, but now he realizes that Maignan does not love Chagel. She loves Val, that everything she was doing to get on Chagel's good side was all an act. And that is kind of sad. I'm like, Chagel is a horrible person, but you do have a shred of empathy in that moment that he thought that maybe possibly her emotions were real, and they were not, right? It was just all her working her way up. And she's like, I swear in the afterlife, I'll kill you, you asshole. And I love Yona, like, wrapping the rope around Maignan, and just the moment that they all show up to protect her. It's so cute. I love it. I love Algira's, like, little happy face amidst the Dromos uniforms. It's so good. I love it. If you feel a bit better. Oh my God. Like, It's such a great moment. I love them showing up to save her because I was getting I was like, Kusanagi, I know you're all for the melodrama, girl, but what we doing? What we doing? And then she has them show up to rescue her. Oh, so good. So yeah, so then chapter 239. Man, I was so glad we had one more chapter after 239 because I was like, if you end on this chapter, no way. No way, no way, no way. But Chegel versus Yona, man, it's great. I love it. I love that Yona like had this all planned out, and then Kaji comes in shooting the arrows. Ho gets reunited with Maignan, and then Chegel comes down. Chegel's sword, his knife, looking a lot like the glaive of Hak, was a really cool choice. I didn't comment about it in the reaction because I was just like, I want to read more really fast, but I did love the idea that his weapon is a lot like Hak's. And Chegel is a very formidable fighter, right? So him taking on Voldo and Algira and being effective against them. But then Yona, her speech where she's like, you have all this strength, but you only use it to cause pain to those around you. She's like, you could do so much if you wanted to. And again, all Chegel wants is just Maignan for himself. And she's like, Yuhan used to chop off the heads of war prisoners, but I'm not going to let that happen again. I want to make this battle the last. And she's like, as things are now, there's no way it's going to come to an end. She's like, a member of the royal family like myself cannot exist without the people. And she's like, I found meaning in my life for the first time. I'm like, oh, I love it. She's like, if you want to make peace, I will do so. But if you want to imprison Maignan and the dragons, that's another story. I love it. I love her fighting him head on. She's like, look, if we want to negotiate, we can. But if you're going to fight me, then I'm going to fight right back. I won't concede anything to a childish man who wants to destroy the people I love. I'm like, oh my God, girl, yes. I love how far Yona's come in all of this. It's so beautiful to see her like fighting as the princess and being effective because damn, yeah, Hak, she's like, just as an example, with nothing but my red hair and royal blood, I could avert your attention. And then Hak showing up to fight him. And he's like, whose execution? Oh, it was so good. And then yes, that moment where they step in and they fight back to back. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, yes, please. I absolutely love it. I love it between them. It's so good. It's so good. Just, y'all, I love it so much. It's a great moment. Seeing them back to back. And then she shoots the arrow right at Chegel. Right at his heart. What a badass move, but he's not going to go out without a fight, right? Instead, he talks about victory of South Kai. And again, I'm so glad that we have this last chapter. The little refusal, chapter 240, the little color spread of all of them in the mouth of the whale. I'm like, oh my God. And then, yes, I like Yotaka being like, I'm on my way to go save the dragons. And I like with the Dromos thing, he has a little smile on his face. And of course, Kija like instantly knocks him out. Like, poor Yokata. He didn't ask for this. But yeah, they go to rescue the dragons. And Kija is afraid that if they get too much further, they're going to be in trouble. And then I love that this volume all lines up. Everything threads back together. Like Val was going to fight Kitan and then Hitan, and then they just knock him out. So he's unconscious, so we don't have to worry about him. We can just set him aside. Val didn't have to worry about battling him. I'm like, good job, Kusanagi. Get that thread out of the way so that Val can go help them rescue the dragons. Great. So we have Val and we have Yukata and then we have Kija together trying to rescue the dragons. Meanwhile, we have Hak tries to tell Yona to run away to the troops. And she's like, no, let me stand by your side. I'm like, I've waited so long, y'all, for this moment for Hak and Yona to fight side by side. Being like, I won't let you die. Oh, I love it. But Chegel, And then I love that they are about to face Chagel, and then they look up and see Gulfin, Hak and Suwon's child. Hak and Suwon's child, he's here, he's there, showing that Suwon's here. He brought reinforcements, he brought the army, they're all coming at them. It's so good. Like, the Sky Tribe shows up, the Fire Tribe's there, just in time. They could mobilize the troops if needed. And then that's when Val and Kija and Yokata show up. It's great. So yeah, so they show up. So they were going after the dragons, but they went to the execution site first to get Maignan. So as far as the dragons go, we don't know where they are. But I just, I love that she's just like, Val, and he's like, I'm angry at you. I'm angry. And she's like, sorry. And she's like, I'll marry you. And he's like, why are you so impulsive? It's just God. Again, the total opposite of Yona. But then Chagel, like, he's bleeding out everywhere from his wound, right? And then, so you came. And then, yeah, Suwon showing up with Gulfin. I love that shot of Gulfin just landing on his shoulder. Like I'm back with my dad. It's so good. So good, y'all. This is the first time we've met. And he's like, I'm sorry for being here late, but, you know, you came to my house while I wasn't home. Here I am now. Like, Suwon can be so badass and Gulfin on his shoulder like that. Oh. And he's like, oh, you requested my presence, like, to come to your execution? I like the reversal of making it Chagel's execution instead of Yona's. But then Chagel's like, I'm not going to die here. And then he goes after Suwon, but Hak protecting Suwon is just like, it is just like everything I could have asked for. I'm like, yes, please. Yes, please, y'all. I'm so happy with it. Hak just stepping in. I want to get a picture of that to save Suwon. And then Ron comes over and grabs Chagel and goes. But yeah, so where we leave off at the volume is that Chagel's severely injured. He's probably going to die, but we don't know that yet. Jaeha and the others have been taken to his palace, which is where he's off to. And then Kaji says that he believes that the carriages are going to be sabotaged so that there's no way they'll reach Phoenix Palace. But we don't know, right? It's like ominously left off, so where we don't know what's going to end up happening. And I'm like, dang it, show. Dang it, series, what are we doing? So, how dare? How dare they, right? How dare they? So, these volumes end too short, right? They end too shortly. This volume went by so quickly that I was like, I was so excited that I just devoured it up, and now I'm left waiting. So presumably we had 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. And we know that 241, 242 are out, so we need to wait for 243, 44, 45, 46. Or at least 245. So I will definitely be keeping up with Discord and Patreon to figure out when volume 42's content comes out, right? To figure out when that's going to be happening, because I'm so glad that Yona and Hak are together with Suwon, right? It feels very like, I feel like where we're at in the story now is getting towards the climax. I feel like Chagel is, I don't know, I feel like Chagel is the final bad. Like, he is the final bad guy because you have Hak, Suwon, and Yona together. But I feel like it's not the final battle, right? Because they've established the battle for South Kai. Chagel's like the crux of it all. He is the linchpin. If we get him out of the way, then all we have to do now is like deal with the aftermath of South Kai and all of these things, right? But I feel like the final battle is really going to be with the dragons. I feel like whatever is happening with Hiryu Palace, whatever the struggle is with the dragons, that's going to be the final challenge of the series. Like, even if we beat Chagel, and even if we get Hak, Yona, and Suwon together, the final battle of it all is going to be the dragons. And I don't want the dragons to die. So I'm like, Kusanagi, please do not be setting this up for the dragons to die at the end of this story. I don't want that. But I don't know where Kusanagi is taking the story from here, like what their thing with the dragons is going to be. But I feel like we're entering into the final act of the manga, which I'm sad about, but I'm very curious what's going to happen from here on in, because after we defeat South Kai and after we go from there, I mean, Hiryu Castle's burned. So do we rebuild? How's that going to go? What's that going to be like? How is Hak and Yona's relationship going to go? Because it's been kind of escalating. What's Suwon's place in all of this? When I was rereading the English translation of volume 38, there's a moment where Yona is sad about Hak, and Suwon goes to comfort her and he goes, no, it has to be Hak. So I feel like Suwon has accepted the fact that Yona loves Hak and that Yona and Hak are in game, but then where is Suwon's place in all of it? I feel like Suwon is the BFF of the two of them that's going to stay by their side, but what do we do with that? What do we do with that? So, so many questions. So many questions! But I'm very, very happy that I finally got to read this volume. I was so excited. It was so good. And now I feel like I just ate, I felt like I ate, a snack, but I'm still hungry. Like I'm hungry for more. And now, damn it, I have to wait for volume 42. But I'll be patient. Kusanagi, the thing about it is you just have to have faith in Kusanagi. Leaving volume 40, I was like, Kusanagi, what are we doing? And throughout this entire volume, I was like, Kusanagi, what are we doing? But you just have to have faith that Kusanagi is going to be fine. It's going to be all right. And then see where it goes. So what can we do? But I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of this volume. It went by way too quickly. Things happened. And now I'm just like, give me more Hak and Yona and Suwon, please. But I will be patiently waiting until volume 42. And in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Yona of the Dawn. Bye.